One quiet night in October 2023, a 13-year-old boy made a shocking 911 call that left the Hialeah, Florida community stunned. His voice was shaky and full of fear as he admitted to something terrible that had just happened in his home, a crime that no one could have expected. With his newborn sister asleep in the next room and his stepfather far away, the boy's confession started an investigation that uncovered dark and surprising details about what took place that night. But why did this young boy do such a terrible thing? And could there be more to the story? The truth is much more complicated than it seems. Irina Garcia, born around 1984, was of Cuban descent and moved to Miami, Florida with her mother. While not much is known about her early life, she later married Jose Rosa, a man serving in the military, and they welcomed their first child, Derek Rosa, on August 26, 2010. Although Irina and Jose eventually divorced, they maintained a friendly co-parenting relationship. Derek spent weekdays with his mother and stayed with his father every other weekend. He also had a strong bond with his maternal grandmother. Derek grew up as a respectful and well-behaved child, known for his academic achievements and strong character. He was a student at Mater Academy, excelling in his studies, and had dreams of becoming an engineer in the U.S. military. As time passed, Irina found love again with Frank Ramos, a fellow Cuban who worked as a long-distance truck driver. The couple moved into an apartment in Hialeah, Florida. In 2023, Irina became pregnant with her second child. A few days before giving birth, the family captured their joy in a photo shoot celebrating the upcoming arrival of their daughter, Ashley, born in late September of that year. By all accounts, Irina was a warm and kind person, creating a harmonious and loving home. However, on October 12, 2023, just days after Derek's 13th birthday, their lives were shattered. That day, Derek made a shocking 911 call, confessing that he had killed his mother with a knife. His voice was filled with fear and hesitation during the 17-minute call as he tried to explain to the dispatcher what had happened. He revealed that he was home alone with his mother and his 14-day-old sister, who was asleep in her crib. Frank, his stepfather, was away on a trip, testing a truck outside the city. During the call, Derek mentioned that his stepfather had 2 firearms, one of which was in the apartment. After committing the crime, Derek had briefly considered using one of the guns to harm himself but ultimately decided against it. He also revealed that he had spoken to a friend about the incident, a detail that left authorities stunned and raised more questions. When asked by the dispatcher why he had attacked his mother, Derek provided an answer that was not publicly disclosed. Throughout the call, the dispatcher worked to keep him calm and occupied while officers traced his location and rushed to the scene. As police approached the home, the tension increased, and the dispatcher urged Derek to keep his hands empty and move away from any weapons. When officers arrived, Derek peacefully surrendered and was taken into custody while neighbors recorded the scene. Inside the home, police found a gruesome sight, Irina's body lying on the bed, covered in blood. Beside her, the newborn baby slept peacefully, unharmed. The infant was later placed in the care of her maternal grandmother. That same night, Derek was interrogated by the Hialeah police. Despite the gravity of his actions, he remained calm and composed during the questioning. He confessed that after going to bed around 10 p.m., he had woken up just after 11:30 p.m., gone to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and entered his mother's room. While Irina slept next to her baby, Derek attacked her.
What type of knife was it, do you know?
It was just a big size kitchen knife.
That big?
Yeah.
What did you do with the guns?
I grabbed the gun.
Okay.
I pulled back to slide, but I didn't want to shoot myself.
Okay.
I intended to shoot myself before, but I couldn't.
Why did you kill your mother? Do you know?
If I have to say it now,
Yeah, get it off your chest. Absolutely.
I can't wait for a lawyer.
During the interview, Derek detailed the bloodstains on his shirt and hands, explaining that they were from the attack. He even demonstrated the size of the knife he used, describing how he first targeted her neck, believing it was a vulnerable spot. During Derek's interrogation, as seen in the video footage, he appeared calm while answering detectives' questions. He admitted that before committing the crime, he had insulted his mother in Spanish. The first stab startled her, and she only managed to scream once before falling silent. However, Derek's demeanor changed significantly when a detective asked about his reason for killing his mother. He requested to use the bathroom and then remained quiet for a few moments. He finally questioned whether he needed to answer that question at that time and asked for a lawyer, bringing the interrogation to a close. The forensic examination of Irina revealed a total of 46 wounds, many inflicted on her face. Additionally, the investigation of Derek's phone uncovered disturbing images that horrified those who saw them. Not only had Derek contacted a friend to tell him about the crime, but he had also sent 3 photographs, 2 of his deceased mother and 1 of himself posing for a chilling selfie with blood on his hands. The friend, whom Derek mentioned both in his 911 call and later to detectives, was someone he had met through online gaming when he was 10 years old. They had never met in person and communicated mostly on weekends. Derek didn't even know his real name, referring to him only by the alias Sweden, which was saved in his phone. The search history on Derek's phone revealed unsettling queries before the crime, such as how to kill someone with a knife, the most effective method to do it, and where to target the body for the quickest result. Authorities noted that Derek had specifically researched the jugular vein. As the sole suspect in his mother's murder, Derek was taken into custody while investigators confirmed that his stepfather, Frank, had been out of state at the time of the incident, working in Georgia. The community was left in shock, struggling to comprehend how a promising young boy could become entangled in such a tragic event. Neighbors and friends expressed disbelief, remembering Derek as a polite and dedicated student. His family requested privacy as they mourned the loss of Irina. A Hialeah police spokesperson revealed that Derek had been a model student with no previous issues at home or school. He had no known history of mental health problems that could have explained his actions. On October 27, 2023, the authorities announced that Derek would face a charge of first-degree murder and would be tried as an adult. His request for house arrest under the supervision of his father and grandmother was denied, and he was transferred to the Metro West Detention Center in Doral. Due to his age, he was kept isolated from the general prison population and monitored 24/7 as he was considered a danger to himself. Despite the overwhelming evidence, some rallied in Derek's defense, including his family. His father described him as a respectful student and was baffled by what could have driven his son to such an act. Having served in the military for 22 years, he believed he had instilled strong values in his child. Derek's maternal grandmother referred to him as the best boy in the world, urging people not to misunderstand the situation, as no one knew him better than she did. A campaign titled Save Derek Rosa was launched online, garnering over 23,000 signatures in support of the teenager. The petition raised doubts about Derek's involvement, suggesting that his search history might have been manipulated or that someone else could have used his device. There was also suspicion that Derek, whose first language was English, might not have written the Spanish search terms found on his phone. Some claimed there was a second voice heard during Derek's 911 call and demanded further investigation into other family members, particularly Frank. Although Frank was never a suspect, many speculated about his involvement. Some accused him of manipulating Derek, and rumors about Frank's personal life sparked public interest. Speculation arose that Frank had a second family in his home country, with photos surfacing online showing him with another woman and 2 girls. However, no concrete evidence linked him to a hidden past. After the crime, Frank opposed the defense's request to search the apartment, claiming that Derek's father and other relatives had already removed several items. The prosecution supported Frank's decision, though this refusal added to public suspicion. Frank's lack of public statements further fueled conspiracy theories, with many wondering about his whereabouts following the incident. On December 14th, the trial began. Derek's grandmother, father, and other relatives attended, and several testimonies were given in defense of the teenager. The defense lawyers argued for Derek's transfer to a juvenile detention center, stating that his rights were being violated by keeping him in an adult facility, given that he was a minor. Prosecutors, on the other hand, argued that Derek's current situation ensured he received an education while incarcerated. Testifying in his favor were a counselor and 2 teachers, who provided him with personalized lessons to help him continue his high school education. Although the teenager spent around 20 hours a day confined in his cell, he had limited interactions. He met with his math teacher 3 times a week and had language classes for another 3 hours each week. The prison housed 34 other minors, but Derek, being the youngest at 13, had restricted interactions limited to brief periods of playing soccer and basketball with a single other inmate. Derek's math instructor testified that the boy responded to lessons just like any other student. Meanwhile, his language teacher noted that Derek often expressed confusion during lessons, leading her to suspect he had learning difficulties. However, She also emphasized that Derek was polite and a diligent student. Derek's attorneys argued that he had lost 6 pounds during his first few months in detention. They called a forensic psychologist to testify. Although the psychologist had not personally evaluated Derek, the specialist attributed Derek's weight loss to depression caused by isolation and testified that Derek was likely experiencing severe self-harm tendencies, which were not visibly apparent. The psychologist also suggested that Derek could be on the autism spectrum and recommended that he be treated as if he had autism until proven otherwise. The Correctional Health Services psychologist diagnosed Derek with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and confirmed that he had tendencies towards self-harm. It was notable that this was the first mention of Derek potentially being on the autism spectrum. Up until that point, he had not been diagnosed with any such condition, and his school records from the past 8 years had shown no signs of any deficiencies. Investigators who interacted with Derek in the hours following the crime also testified during this hearing, and the disturbing video of his confession was shown to the court. This was one of the few moments when Derek lowered his head and appeared to cry. Additionally, the state attorney's office released 2 new security videos as evidence. In the first video, Derek is seen opening the door to the apartment where his mother, Irina, is seated holding the newborn baby. According to some sources, there was an argument between them. The second video shows Derek standing by his mother's bed as she slept, moments before her life was taken. The court also viewed photographs of the crime scene, including the weapon used. With these grim details, prosecutors aimed to prevent the judge from authorizing Derek's transfer to a juvenile detention center, insisting that he posed a danger to the community. After several days of testimony, the judge expressed concern over the relatively small amount of time Derek was allowed outside his cell but found no clear violation of his constitutional rights. As a result, the defense's request for a transfer to a juvenile facility was denied, and the judge ordered Derek to remain in the adult detention center. In an emotional hearing on Thursday, February 15th, defense attorneys presented 26 letters written by family members, all emphasizing that Derek was a kind, loving child and that the crime did not reflect his true character. The courtroom was filled with tension and hope as the letters were read aloud, highlighting the deep emotional impact of the situation on Derek's family and supporters. Derek's grandmother, father, and other family members attended the hearing, their faces filled with concern and love. Supporters from different parts of the United States had also traveled to be there, wearing T-shirts emblazoned with Save Derek. Their presence was a powerful display of unwavering support for the young boy. Many in attendance echoed the sentiment that a child is innocent until proven guilty, and they firmly believed Derek Rosa could not have committed such a heinous act. His maternal grandmother emphasized that Derek was not an adult but still a child who needed guidance. His biological father pleaded for leniency and a second chance to help Derek grow and learn from his mistakes. Both underscored the strong family support surrounding him. The letters submitted on Derek's behalf mostly asked the court not to treat him as an adult in the legal process. Derek's defense team argued that they were not prepared for trial because the prosecution had not provided all the necessary evidence. They pointed out key missing elements such as witness reports, footage from the baby monitor, clothing, and other personal items. Derek's attorney requested a court order forcing the prosecution to hand over the missing evidence or to exclude it from the case if it wasn't produced by a specific deadline. However, the prosecution had also been unable to access data from Derek's computer, tablets, and gaming consoles. The judge overseeing the case confirmed that there were 750 photos and multiple witness statements involved and ordered the prosecution to submit all unedited information. A new hearing date was set, but the judge maintained his decision to try Derek as an adult. Despite the judge's expressed urgency to expedite the trial, citing concerns about conditions in detention, the case became tangled in a series of hearings and delays. Throughout the proceedings, the defense petitioned for Derek to be declared indigent, arguing that the family lacked the financial resources to afford private attorneys. They requested that the state cover the costs for case preparation, including mental health experts, forensic analysis, and witness testimonies. At the most recent hearing, held on September 21, 2024, Derek appeared virtually and remained silent. His family broke down in tears upon seeing him on the screen, overwhelmed with emotion and pain. Concerned about the lengthy periods Derek spent in isolation, his lawyers once again petitioned to transfer him from the adult jail to a juvenile detention center. According to news reports, March records indicated that Derek had only been out of his cell for a total of 119 hours, with just 5 hours devoted to his education. Despite these revelations, the judge denied the request once again. New developments emerged when the prosecution identified Derek's mysterious online friend from the night of the crime through electronic device analysis. Detectives traced the phone's owner and conducted an interrogation. Derek's trial is scheduled for December 2, 2024, with at least 28 witnesses expected to testify. The prosecution plans to present video testimony from Sweden, Derek's online friend. Meanwhile, the defense has reportedly obtained text messages between the Hialeah police detectives and Derek's stepfather, which could shed light on their relationship and whether any influence or manipulation took place before the crime. This ongoing investigation focuses on official information, witness statements, and family accounts. As the case is still unresolved, we refrain from making any judgments regarding Derek's innocence or guilt. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.